Hello there. Welcome to The Sleepless Scientist. If you've come here to rest your curious mind, you are in the perfect place. Relax your thoughts, close your eyes, or leave them wide in wonder, because tonight we drift beyond history into the ancient shadows of Earth. And if you enjoy these timeless voyages through forgotten worlds, be sure to subscribe, like this video, and ring the bell, so you'll never miss a journey into the mysteries that sleep beneath our feet, beneath unborn continents and oceans untold. The Earth once shimmered, furious and bold, before any feather could flutter or beast ever roared. The planet was ruled by titans, unseen and ignored, in fathomless seas where no light ever gleamed. Faceless things hunted, while silent forests dreamed. No flowers danced, no birds took flight. Only monstrous giants moved in eternal night. Their forms were strange, their limbs immense, their battles fierce, their silence intense. Long before the age of dinosaurs took claim, these ancient rulers carved Earth's first name. Their skeletons whisper through rock and clay, echoes of kingdoms that faded away. Now close your eyes, let your thoughts be free, and wander through time's lost, primeval sea. Prepare yourself for a journey where forgotten beasts gleam, into empires older than memory, older than dream. We begin. In the beginning there was no green, no blue, only a furious molten sphere, swirling in the infinite black. We descend now, through a veil of ancient time, to a world unrecognizable, where continents were but dreams trapped within the Earth's searing heart. The sky above was a choking haze of ash and poison, clouds boiling with sulfur, and lightning carving violent scars across a newborn atmosphere. Beneath our feet, the Earth convulsed, shuddering under its own restless heat. Volcanoes, taller than any mountain we have ever known, erupted in endless fury, their molten rivers casting a crimson glow that rivaled the stars. Asteroids rained down like celestial hammers, each impact a violent note in the symphony of creation. The young Earth did not welcome life, it forged it in the crucible of chaos. This was the Hadean Eon, 4.5 billion years ago, when oceans first formed from vaporous steam, cooling the fractured surface. Imagine standing at the edge of those first shores, waters the color of steel, swirling with minerals kissed by meteoric iron, their tides guided by a moon freshly birthed from planetary collision. Here life did not emerge with fanfare, it whispered into existence. From the boiling depths, the first organic molecules assembled like letters in a forgotten language written by time itself. Amino acids, fatty vesicles, the building blocks of what would one day breathe and think, danced in the thermal vents beneath the sea. Here, in darkness, shielded from the carnage above, nature's earliest experiments in biology began. This is our first certainty. Life arose from simplicity, built by the violent energy of the Earth itself. Yet, the details, the precise alchemy remain elusive, shrouded in mystery. Was it the searing heat of undersea volcanoes that nurtured the first cells, or the electrical fury of storm-ravaged skies that stitched molecules into life? Or perhaps life was seeded from elsewhere, delivered by icy wanderers from distant realms. In these enigmatic beginnings, we find the first heartbeat of our world. The first breath, not of lungs, but of chemistry. It is here, in the cauldron of primordial oceans, that Luca, the last universal common ancestor, may have first divided, marking the ancestral spark of every living being that would follow. Yet the Earth was far from hospitable. Tectonic plates churned beneath a fragile crust, birthing and swallowing continents in cycles of fury. Meteors continued their assault, each impact boiling seas into steam, erasing any fragile progress life had made, and still, life endured. Microscopic, invisible, tenacious. It was a time without predators, without prey, only survival against the brutal elements. The oceans, heavy with dissolved iron, bled rust-colored tides. The air was a noxious blend, devoid of oxygen, poisonous to any modern lungs. And yet, somewhere in the stillness between tempests, simple life began to replicate, to persist. There are those who wonder if this story began not on Earth at all. Panspermia, they call it. The idea that life seeds drifted across the cosmos, hidden within the heart of comets, or the rocky bellies of meteorites. Perhaps the molecules that birthed us were older than Earth itself. wanderers who found a home in our planet's fury. Or perhaps it was this very violence, this relentless battering and boiling, that rendered the impossible inevitable. From simplicity arose complexity, because chaos demanded it. In this epoch, there were no eyes to witness the dawn of life, no bones to fossilize, no shells to remember, only the silent chemistry of survival and the quiet forging of futures unseen. But the oceans, these ancient metallic seas, held a secret promise that from these first cells, kingdoms would one day rise and giants would one day fall. Already, time was setting its stage. Deep beneath restless waves, evolution began its patient work, shaping molecules into machines, reactions into replication, randomness into resilience. And just as the Earth's skin hardened, just as oceans deepened and the sky turned from hellish red to something softer, life was waiting, coiling in its microbial simplicity, destined to one day inherit this brutal world. From the dust of stars and the fire of planets, the first fragile life took hold, and it would never let go. The world cooled, though it still trembled. The sky grew softer, oceans deeper, but life remained unseen, too small, too simple for the grandeur we now know. We float through these ancient tides through the Archean Eon, 3.5 billion years ago, where life was but a quiet whisper in the chaos. Below the surface, continents were no more than fractured islands, specks of land adrift in a vast iron-rich sea. Above, the clouds were thick, veiling the pale sun, and the air held no breath for animals, only methane and carbon dioxide swirling in toxic abundance. Yet, hidden beneath these steely waves, something miraculous stirred. In the silence of the deep, stromatolites began their slow, patient rise. There were no towering beasts or clever predators, but microbial fortresses, layer upon layer of cyanobacteria, binding sediment into stony domes that dotted shallow waters. These were life's first architects, ancient colonies that built cathedrals of stone without eyes, without thought, without ambition. Only instinct and chemistry guided them. You can still find them, even now, fossilized in Earth's oldest rocks, or growing quietly in corners of modern seas. They are among our most ancient relatives, silent witnesses to a world before bones, before fins, before teeth. And in their patience, they transformed the world. Through the invisible toil of photosynthesis, these tiny architects exhaled a gas that was poison to the life forms of their age. Oxygen. Slowly, imperceptibly, they flooded the oceans with it, and the skies too began to change. What was once a suffocating shroud thick with methane began to shimmer blue with promise. This was the Great Oxidation Event, a revolution born not from violence, but from the patient exhalations of microscopic colonies. The air became hostile to the simple anaerobic life that had first thrived, driving many to extinction, while opening the doors to unimaginable complexity. Science offers certainty here. Stromatolites oxygenated the world, but the rhythm of their rise remains veiled in mystery. Did a sudden evolutionary leap drive their expansion? Or was it merely the slow accumulation of favorable conditions? Some speculate about the presence of oxygenation oases, tiny pockets of breathable air forming like ghostly islands in an otherwise hostile sea. Could it be that life experimented with complexity within these isolated refuges, long before oxygen conquered the skies? And yet, in these oceans teeming with invisible battles, something remarkable unfolded. Around 2 billion years ago, cells learned cooperation. Simple prokaryotes, small, hardy, solitary, began merging, forming eukaryotic cells, the complex powerhouses that make up all higher life today. It was an alliance of necessity. Smaller cells found shelter inside larger ones, and in return they offered efficiency, energy, and resilience. Mitochondria, the engines of our own cells, are relics of these ancient unions, a merger so profound that it rewrote the script of evolution. From this symbiosis, complexity flourished. The oceans pulsed with new possibilities, though the eye could not yet see them. Single-celled eukaryotes evolved into diverse shapes, some sprouting whip-like tails to swim, others weaving protective shells from minerals dissolved in the seas. For the first time, life had structure, compartments, and a hidden beauty magnified only through the lens of time. But life's ambitions did not stop at cooperation. The clock ticked forward to the Ediacaran period, 600 million years ago, when multicellular life took its first hesitant steps. Imagine walking through these ancient seas. There is no fish, no fin, no sharp tooth to fear. Only soft-bodied life forms blanket the seafloor, undulating gently with the currents like strange alien carpet. Creatures such as Dickensinia, oval and ribbed like the imprint of some forgotten leaf, and Sprigina, segmented and headless, drift in the shadows of primitive currents. Their impressions, pressed into sandstone, are the earliest evidence of complex bodies, and yet their purpose remains a riddle. Were they animals, fungi, or something else entirely? A lost kingdom of life erased by time. Their bodies lacked mouths, lacked bones, left no enduring traces beyond their ghostly silhouettes in rock. We know they existed, we see their shapes etched in stone, but their biology remains elusive, their story half told. Here lies one of life's great unknowns. How did simplicity give way to organized complexity? Why, after billions of years of microbial reign, did multicellularity emerge in earnest only now? Some suggest the rising oxygen levels unlocked the genetic potential long dormant. Others whisper of environmental catalysts, ice ages that forced cooperation, global glaciations known as Snowball Earth, when glaciers stretched from pole to equator and survival demanded innovation. In these frozen cataclysms, perhaps life learned to bind together, to form stronger, more resilient entities, paving the way for complexity. The Ediacaran seas glowed softly beneath dim sunlight, a tranquil interlude before life would truly explode. Gentle fronds swayed in the currents, flat-bodied beings crept silently over the sea floor, and the first predator-prey relationships hinted at evolutionary arms races yet to come. This was a world without bones, without eyes, without voice, but rich with potential. An Earth poised at the edge of biological revolution, and through it all, the stones listened. They absorbed every footprint, every ripple, every fleeting touch of these earliest animals. Eons later, they would give up their secrets to curious minds and patient hands. From the microbial architects to the soft-bodied wanderers of the seafloor, this age tells a quiet story. A story of life learning to dream beyond the cell, of forms that whispered their existence into the ancient sand, waiting for discovery. A world still silent, still slow, but awakening. In the hush before the storm, life gathered its strength, and the oceans braced for an explosion of life beyond imagination. We drift forward through time to a world that hums in delicate silence, an oceanic world in the late Precambrian, where time itself seems to breathe beneath layers of shifting currents. Here we witness life on the threshold of transformation. Gone are the barren tides of earlier epochs. In their place, a strange new kingdom unfolds, an age of forms soft as mist, fleeting as shadows, and enigmatic as ancient dreams. Beneath shallow waters illuminated by a pale, distant sun, life paints its first brushstrokes of complexity. Sprawled across sandy seafloors beneath curtains of silt and drifting plankton lie the Ediacaran biota, Earth's earliest known multicellular organism. They have no bones to rattle, no jaws to bite, no eyes to see. They are whispers of biology, living tapestries that sway with the ocean's gentle heartbeat. Dickensonia, oval and ribbed, presses itself into the sediment, absorbing nutrients directly from the water or perhaps grazing upon microbial mats. Beside it glides Sprigina, segmented, flattened, with a distinct head-like shape, a possible early ancestor to more familiar life forms. And there, like frozen sea foam, lie Charnia, frond-like entities rooted into the seabed, rising softly towards currents that drift above them like ancient unseen winds. Their bodies leave no skeletons to fossilize, no shells to preserve. They write their stories in imprints, ghostly depressions in stone, frozen moments of motion from 600 million years ago. We only glimpse their existence through these stone silhouettes, like echoes of voices heard only once in a distant storm. Science confirms their reality. Their fossils lie quietly across the world, from the cold rocks of Australia's Flinders Ranges to the rolling hills of Newfoundland. Yet their nature, what they truly were, remains steeped in mystery. Were they animals? Plants? Some ancient, now extinct kingdom of life. The debate lingers like a distant thundercloud. Some paleontologists lean toward primitive animal lineages, pointing to evidence of movement, bilateral symmetry in creatures like Sprigina, and possible feeding behaviors. Others resist, suggesting these beings belong to lost biological domains, evolutionary experiments that vanished without heirs. This mystery pulses at the heart of science. Why do these soft-bodied pioneers appear so suddenly after billions of years of microbial simplicity, and why do they disappear just as quickly before the dawn of the Cambrian? As we drift closer, we sense an ocean not of violence but of quiet industry. The Ediacaran seas are warm, shallow, and rich in minerals. No predators lurk here, no chase unfolds beneath the waves. Life moves slowly, grazing, absorbing, or filtering nourishment from the surrounding currents. It is a world in its biological infancy, a primordial nursery where the first multicellular blueprints are drawn. Yet hidden beneath this peaceful surface, evolution is already at work, sculpting, experimenting, preparing the canvas for what is to come. It whispers secrets into the genetic code of these creatures, laying the foundation for muscles, tissues, and perhaps even the earliest rudimentary forms of nervous systems. Some Ediacaran organisms show hints of movement, faint trackways preserved beside their resting places. Others form large colonies, carpets of life blanketing entire ocean floors. Still others exhibit fractal branching patterns, beautiful recursive designs that mirror the math of modern living systems, though no true organs or heads can yet be found. And then there are the fractifaces, ancient, spindle-shaped beings whose growth patterns reveal something mesmerizing. The earliest known signs of biological reproduction by fragmentation. They do not merely split cells, they break apart their bodies to create offspring, a survival strategy untouched by time, still found in some modern sea creatures. In these Ediacaran forms, we witness life pushing against the boundaries of its own simplicity. We sense an undercurrent of innovation, cells cooperating in new ways, structures forming, bodies expanding beyond the microscopic realms that had bound life for eons, but the world itself is restless. The atmosphere, enriched by cyanobacteria, holds more oxygen than ever before, nourishing this explosion of multicellularity. Tectonic plates shift subtly beneath the oceans, creating nutrient-rich upwellings and diverse habitats in shallow coastal regions. Currents stir, sculpting seafloors into varied landscapes, where life can experiment and evolve. Still, one great unknown lingers in this primordial world. Why, after their flourishing, did the Ediacaran organisms vanish? Some whisper of ecological displacement, that the emergence of more mobile, aggressive Cambrian life outcompeted these gentle creatures. Others suggest environmental upheaval, shifts in ocean chemistry, or temperature, subtly reshaping Earth's ecosystems. There is even speculation about early microbial mats turning toxic, suffocating the soft-bodied beings they once nourished. Whatever the cause, one certainty remains: this era of peace, of soft-bodied splendor, was destined to end. The world was gathering itself, the oceans were stirring, and life was preparing for a leap so profound it would rewrite the story of evolution. In the silence before the storm, we see a world humming with potential. Life has learned to shape itself into forms, to move, to feed, to reproduce with purpose beyond mere cell division. Muscles whisper beneath tissues, nerves tentatively explore sensation, and genetic complexity swirls unseen beneath translucent skin. It is a brief moment in the grand tapestry of existence, a fleeting sunrise before the brilliant blaze of the Cambrian explosion. But it is foundational, the first grand rehearsal before life takes center stage. From the subtle pulse of Dickensinia to the anchored grace of Charnia and the fractal elegance of Fractificus, these Ediacaran pioneers mark the threshold of biological majesty. Their shadows dance in stone, their legacy pulses in our veins, and though they vanish before the world knows teeth or claws, their whispers will echo forever through the fossil record. And beyond this peaceful age, beneath the calm tides and delicate currents, something stirs, a rising crescendo that will soon shatter the silence, flooding Earth's oceans with teeth, armor, and unparalleled strangeness. The ancient world breathes in, waiting for the great surge of life that is to come. The stillness fractures. The hush of ancient seas, once ruled by drifting shadows, is broken by a bloom of unprecedented intensity. The world, for so long a place of soft forms and gentle grazers, erupts into a riot of motion, armor, and predation. We stand now at the shores of the Cambrian period, 540 million years ago, when life's quiet pulse quickens into a thunderous roar. Beneath waves clearer than they had ever been, sunlight spears down to seafloors that now teem with extraordinary abundance. We float through these waters, watching a planet reborn. Multicellular life, once hesitant and soft, now carves itself into bold new design. Shells harden, eyes sharpen, limbs unfurl, and teeth gnash. Evolution, once a slow whisper, accelerates into a furious symphony of invention. This is the Cambrian explosion, a biological detonation that scatters life across every niche of the ocean. In the blink of geological time, almost all modern animal body plans appear. Vertebrates and invertebrates, swimmers and scuttlers, burrowers and predators, complexity that had taken billions of years to inch forward, now leaps ahead in a few tens of millions. We drift above Burgess Shale, a silent slope in ancient seas now fossilized in stone, where the ghosts of this explosion are preserved in astonishing detail. Here, in these silent rocky pages, the history of life's first grand diversification is written in creatures so strange, so wondrous, they seem conjured from alien worlds. Look below, the seafloor is alive with scurrying trilobites, armored scavengers whose intricate exoskeletons gleam beneath shafts of sunlight. Their jointed limbs carry them across sediment plains, while their faceted compound eyes watch for danger with geometric precision. Trilobites will endure for nearly 300 million years, but now they are youthful monarchs of the seafloor, flushing in countless species in every possible size and form. Above them drift creatures that defy modern classification. Opabinia, with 5 stalked eyes and a strange nozzle-like proboscis, moves with unpredictable grace, plucking morsels from the sand. Nearby, Hallucigenia, a spiny worm-like enigma, scuttles along, its backward-facing spines offering a bizarre defense in a world where the first predatory chase has just begun. And then there is Wywaxia, cloaked in scales and spines, crawling through the mud with bristle-tipped appendages, and Nectocaris, a swift swimmer resembling a primitive cephalopod, darting through the water with unmatched agility. For the first time, life grows armored. It grows predatory. The evolutionary arms race begins. As creatures evolve shells to protect themselves, spikes to deter attackers, and eyes to detect danger. The rules of survival are rewritten. No longer can one merely drift and graze. Now one must evade, hunt, defend. The cause of this explosion remains one of science's enduring mysteries. Theories abound. Oxygen levels in the atmosphere reached a critical threshold, empowering larger and more complex bodies, perhaps, after eons of molecular experimentation. Genetic toolkits like Hox genes unlocked the blueprint for building limbs, eyes, and specialized organs. Maybe new predator-prey dynamics drove evolutionary innovation at a frenzied pace. Some even speculate that environmental catalysts, such as the breakup of supercontinents and shifts in ocean chemistry, stirred ecosystems into rapid change. But here in these Cambrian seas, the effects are beyond debate. Earth transformed into a planet alive with motion, conflict, and experimentation. There is something hauntingly beautiful in this chaos. Beneath us, trails crisscross the seafloor, evidence of creatures burrowing for the first time, reshaping sediments, oxygenating mud that had long been lifeless. Simple food chains stretch into complex webs, and the first ecological niches solidify. Grazers, filter feeders, ambush predators, swift hunters, and opportunistic scavengers all play their roles in a suddenly dynamic world. No land yet supports life. The continents remain barren rock, battered by waves, whipped by wind, utterly silent. All of life's drama unfolds beneath the waves, in reefs and muddy plains, along continental shelves where nutrients run rich. And though no eyes watch from above, here in the blue world below, life performs its first true spectacle. From this period, we see not just the rise of strange arthropods and early mollusks, but the very beginnings of our own ancient lineage. Tiny soft-bodied chordates like picae wiggle through the water, primitive vertebrates, bearing the earliest signs of a notochord, a flexible rod that will one day evolve into the backbone. They are fragile and few, but they mark the genesis of a story that will lead to fish, to reptiles, to mammals, to us. In these waters, sight is perfected. Compound eyes with crystalline lenses evolve, far more advanced than anything the world had seen, Anomalocaris. Soon to emerge as the Cambrian's apex predator, possesses some of the most complex eyes in Earth's early history, with thousands of lenses granting it piercing vision in dim, sediment-laden seas. For the first time, light becomes a weapon. The ability to see sharply, to track, to pursue, transforms the simple grazing dynamics of the Ediacaran into a brutal dance of life and death. And yet, within this fierce competition, beauty abounds. Bodies grow elegant, colours lightly shimmered in ancient reefs. Rhythmic movements carried creatures effortlessly through the water. Life had not just grown more violent, it had grown more vibrant, more varied, more breathtakingly strange. The Cambrian explosion is a geological heartbeat. 70 million years, a brief flicker against the canvas of Earth's deep time, but it sets the rhythm for everything that follows. Every fish, every bird, every mammal, every human can trace their lineage back to this flushing, to the evolutionary architects that crafted limbs, eyes, spines, and skulls in these crowded ancient seas. And though most of these first pioneers would vanish, their legacy endures in the blueprint of every creature alive today. In the warmth of these long-vanished oceans, in the crystalline shallows of the Cambrian, life learned to innovate, to adapt, to conquer. And as the trilobites scuttle and the spiny hallucigenia prowls the mud, a predator glides through the currents with eyes that shine like ancient stars, a hunter that will soon reign supreme. The ocean holds its breath, for the age of apex hunters is about to begin. The world trembles with new life, and in these Cambrian seas there emerges a creature that commands fear for the very first time. A hunter unlike any the Earth had ever seen, gliding through the currents with fluid menace, its compound eyes gleaming with evolutionary mastery. We now drift in the realm of Anomalocaris, the first true apex predator to ever roam the waters of this planet, an ancient phantom born from nature's earliest experiments in power and pursuit. In the silted depths of these primeval oceans, survival is no longer a game of stillness, but of speed. Prey scuttles, hides, and burrows, but above it all, Anomalocaris soars, a fluid weapon honed by instinct. Its name, translated as abnormal shrimp, betrays the confusion it caused paleontologists when first discovered in shattered fragments. A mouth mistaken for a jellyfish, spiny appendages thought to be shrimp, and a segmented body misunderstood as a separate animal altogether. Only in time did the fragments reveal the truth. A single terrifying being pieced together by the slow hand of science, stretching up to 1.5 meters in length. Anomalocaris was a leviathan of its era, a true giant in a world dominated by small, armored invertebrates. Its body, sinuous and flexible, propelled it through the water in smooth, undulating waves, while flaps along its sides acted like primitive fins, creating jet-like bursts of acceleration. Each movement was a predator's ballet, an elegant display of lethal grace. At its front, 2 spined, grasping appendages reached forward like harpoons, lined with wicked barbs designed to snatch, ensnare, and deliver prey into the waiting maw beneath. The mouth itself, circular, lined with overlapping plates, could spin and crush, a serrated disc capable of grinding through the soft bodies of its victims. For millions of years, paleontologists debated whether it could penetrate the hard shells of trilobites, its most common companions. Recent evidence suggests it could fossilize trilobites have been found with bite marks eerily matching the circular jaws of this primordial terror. But it was not just the body that made Anomalocaris formidable, it was the eyes. On stalks that rose from its head, compound eyes glittered with complexity previously unseen in the animal kingdom. Thousands of individual lenses worked in concert, allowing Anomalocaris to spot movement with startling precision in the dimly lit Cambrian depths. These eyes, advanced even by modern arthropod standards, elevated it to supreme hunter, where sight became the dominant sense, and the oceans became a hunting ground dictated by vision and speed. Here lies a pivotal truth in Earth's history. With the rise of Anomalocaris, predation became a driving evolutionary force. No longer could creatures rely solely on static defense. Movement, armor, and speed became evolutionary necessities. Eyes evolved in response to watching predators. Shells thickened in defense against biting jaws, and the first great evolutionary arms race began. Yet despite its mastery, Anomalocaris remains enigmatic. It leaves behind no bones, only impressions in ancient shale, fragmented relics of its reign. Its place within the evolutionary tree is still debated. Some classify it among the Radiodonta, primitive stem arthropods related to the ancestors of modern shrimp and insects, while others wonder if it represents a now extinct experiment in design, a lineage that climbed high but left no modern descendants. This is the great unknown. Anomalocaris ruled the Cambrian seas, but left behind no heirs. It was an apex predator that vanished before vertebrates could conquer land, before complex brains and limbs could evolve to challenge its dominion. Science studies its fossils with reverence, but questions remain: how did it feed, how did it breed, and why did it ultimately vanish? Some hypotheses suggest it was a specialist predator, and when prey evolved thicker armor, Anomalocaris fell victim to its own evolutionary path. Others theorize environmental changes at the end of the Cambrian altered ecosystems in ways it could not survive. The oceans were shifting after all. Oxygen levels fluctuated, continents drifted, and the evolutionary dice were rolled anew. Yet during its reign, it was unmatched. Every trilobite that scurried, every worm that wriggled, every shelled creature that fed upon the seafloor lived under the constant threat of its spinning jaws and raking limbs. For millions of years, it shaped not only who survived, but how life adapted. We drift through these ancient waters, watching its silhouette cut through shimmering waves like a living spear. Schools of smaller arthropods scatter as it approaches, its muscular body pulsating with every beat of its finned flap. The ocean floor, littered with shells and burrows, tells a story of relentless pursuit and brutal ambushes. The Cambrian seas are no longer silent. They resound with the drama of survival, the crash of predator and prey. It is here that the blueprint of ecological hierarchy is born. Anomalocaris stands at the top, the first to discover the evolutionary rewards of dominance. And in its shadow, life learns to diversify, to defend, to innovate. For those ancient creatures that swam alongside it, every day was a lesson in adaptation. The timid developed camouflage, the slow evolved armor, and the blind perished. Evolution sculpted new life in the image of survival, driven by fear, by hunger, by relentless selection. And though Anomalocaris vanished before the next great evolutionary chapters were written, its legacy endured. Every apex predator that would follow, every mosasaur in Mesozoic seas, every Tyrannosaurus stalking the Cretaceous plains, every saber-tooth crouched in Pleistocene forests, each carried within them echoes of this first streamlined killer. In the spinning jaws of Anomalocaris, life tasted its first true terror, and the oceans, once peaceful, would never be the same again. Above, the surface glimmers, unaware. Beyond the shallow continental shelves, continents slumber in volcanic silence, empty of life, awaiting their turn. But beneath the waves, evolution continues to roar, crafting new giants, new hunters, new dramas, and as Anomalocaris disappears into the ancient murk, a new age of titans prepares to rise, their bodies armored not just in shell, but in innovation. Time surges forward, and the seas transform again. The world has drifted into the Ordovician period, nearly 85 million years ago, and Earth's oceans swell with life in unprecedented abundance. The Cambrian explosion was but a prelude. Now the symphony intensifies. New creatures, larger and stranger, carve their kingdoms beneath the waves, and the ancient rhythms of predation and survival crescendo into something vast and primal. We descend through ancient waters richer than ever in nutrients, fed by the drifting tectonic plates that stir the seafloor, releasing minerals into the tides. Sunlight pours through shallow continental shelves, revealing coral-like reefs, sponge gardens, and a new cast of predators stalking their prey. Trilobites still scuttle along the muddy bottom, now clad in thicker, spikier armor, their segments more intricate, their eyes sharper. They are no longer the only rulers of the seabed. They are prey. Above them glides something colossal, stretching longer than a modern bus, its rigid conical shell gleaming like polished ivory, Camarasaurus, the giant of the Ordovician seas, patrols the depths. This ancient cephalopod ancestor to squids and octopuses moves with a grace belying its immense bulk. Tentacles sprout from the open end of its shell, dozens of muscular, sinuous arms that grope through the water with unrelenting hunger. At the center of this living net lies a beak strong enough to crush armor, to pierce through the defensive plates of trilobites, and to shred softer prey with ease. Camarasaurus is no fleeting shadow. It is a floating fortress, the largest predator the world has known up to this point. Estimates suggest it reached lengths of nearly 30 feet, an unfathomable size in an ocean where most creatures remain no larger than a man's hand. This is the first age where giants truly emerge behemoths, whose very presence reshapes ecosystems, dictating the flow of energy through these thriving marine realms. Where Anomalocaris was swift and sinuous, Camarasaurus is massive and methodical, an apex predator who consumes anything smaller than itself. And smaller things abound. The Ordovician seas are a riot of biodiversity. Primitive jawless fish, called ostracoderms, begin their tentative exploration of the seafloor. Encased in bony armor, they are the first vertebrates to claim a niche in these crowded oceans. Tiny, toothless, and slow, they are little match for the tentacles of Camarasaurus, but they mark the dawn of a lineage that will one day walk upon land. Elsewhere, the seafloor erupts in delicate fans of graptolites, colonial animals suspended on feathery filaments, filtering the rich plankton that fills these waters. Brachiopods, shelled creatures resembling clams but bearing no relation to them, anchor themselves in the mud, their shells opening and closing with the ebb and flow of ancient tides. Above them hover eurypterids, or sea scorpions, primitive arthropods whose segmented bodies glide through lagoons and shallow bays. They are early predators in their own right, their limbs adapted for swimming and grasping, their pincers eager to seize smaller invertebrates. And within this rich ecosystem, life experiments with new forms and functions. Coral-like organisms build the first complex reefs, vast underwater structures that shelter countless life forms. Sponges grow to impressive sizes, filtering water through intricate internal canals. Tiny plankton clouds turn the seas cloudy with life, forming the basis of a complex, thriving food web. But in the heart of this bustling underwater metropolis, Camarasaurus reigns supreme. Its evolutionary toolkit is both ancient and refined. Buoyancy controlled by chambers within its shell, propulsion achieved by squirting jets of water, sensory organs capable of detecting even the faintest disturbances in the currents. And yet, mysteries remain. How precisely did Camarasaurus hunt? Did it lie in wait, a monstrous pillar amidst the reefs, lunging at unsuspecting prey, or did it cruise open waters, a slow-moving juggernaut, scouring the seafloor for trilobites and fish alike? Fossil evidence offers only fragments, shell impressions, beak fossils, and isolated tentacle scars upon the shells of prey. Paleontology stitches together these relics, but much remains unknown. The debate extends further. Was Camarasaurus truly the largest, or do even greater giants of the Ordovician await discovery? Hidden in stone yet unexcavated, new fossils, glimpsed in distant strata, hint at cephalopods even grander in scale, their full stories swallowed by geological time. Yet for now, in this snapshot of Earth's deep past, Camarasaurus is the undisputed ruler. Its rise signals something profound, a world moving toward greater complexity, where size, specialization, and adaptation define success in the ceaseless dance of survival. Beyond the reach of the reefs, the continents drift in silence. They remain barren, lashed by wind and storm, devoid of the green life that will one day soften their rocky faces. But change is stirring. Tiny moss-like plants begin to carpet damp coastal rocks, their primitive cells photosynthesizing beneath the sun, still muted by an immature atmosphere. Faint whispers of green hint at the coming conquest of land, though for now, the true drama unfolds beneath the waves. And amidst this ancient theatre, the Earth itself undergoes transformation. Tectonic forces assemble new land masses, shallow seas expand, and vast volcanic chains rise from the ocean floors. The planet pulses with energy, breathing life into its oceans while preparing the surface for life's eventual ascent. Yet darkness looms. At the tail end of the Ordovician, the planet shudders once more. Glacial sheets advance from the poles, ice locks away the waters, sea levels plummet, and life's exuberance faces its first great test. The Ordovician Silurian extinction, one of Earth's earliest mass die-offs, will soon erase vast swathes of marine biodiversity. Many of the armored trilobites, the delicate graptolites, and perhaps even the majestic Camaraoceras will vanish beneath rising glaciers and falling seas. The pulse of life will falter, but it will not cease, because life, once ignited, refuses to extinguish. Even as the world chills, as waters recede, as ecosystems collapse, the seeds of resilience remain. New lineages wait in the shadows, ready to claim their place in the ages to come. For now, though, we swim among giants. We drift through the swirling currents, past the spined limbs of sea scorpions, beneath the slow undulation of graptolite curtains, and into the path of a colossal predator, its tentacles outstretched, its beak glinting in the filtered Ordovician sunlight. This is a world ruled by cephalopod kings and armored wanderers, where life's first giants stride through the seas, unaware of the looming cold that will soon silence their reign. And in the distance, just beyond the horizon of time, a new conquest awaits. The first bold steps onto unclaimed rocky shores. From the depths of the ancient seas, where tentacled giants drifted and armored trilobites scuttled, life prepared to cross its next great frontier. The water had nourished it, challenged it, shaped it. But now, as the Silurian period dawned, some 404 million years ago, life's ambitions turned upward and outward, toward the barren, silent continents. Above the waves, the world was lifeless. The land masses, fragmented by drifting tectonic plates, rose like desolate citadels of rock and dust, carved by wind, scorched by relentless sunlight, and washed by unceasing rains. There was no green, no canopy of leaves, no soft moss underfoot. Only the sound of wind howling through empty valleys and the crash of waves upon jagged shorelines. But change, subtle and silent, was coming. In the cracks of coastal rock, in the damp spaces where tides left pools of water, primitive life began its patient, quiet invasion. We descend to these lonely shores, watching as tiny moss-like plants, simple in structure, without roots or true leaves, begin to clutch the ancient stone. Their chlorophyll pigments drink in sunlight. Their fragile tissues cling stubbornly to life in the hostile air. They are pioneers, the vanguard of a coming revolution. These first plants, known as bryophytes, were Earth's earliest green colonists. They lacked the vascular systems that would later allow trees to tower into the sky, but they possessed the most essential skill: they could live beyond the sea. Through a delicate balance of moisture absorption and sunlight capture, they survived on land, softening the sharpness of rock, beginning the slow, inexorable transformation of the continents. And where plants led, animals followed. Not far behind these emerald whispers came the first adventurers of the animal kingdom. Hardy arthropods, relatives of the trilobites and sea scorpions, these creatures were drawn from the shallow tidal zones, their adaptations honed by millions of years of scuttling across seafloors. Fossils whisper the presence of primitive millipedes, their segmented bodies creeping along moist rock, their countless tiny legs propelling them over slippery surfaces. Alongside them were the early eurytitrids, sea scorpions that ventured briefly onto land, perhaps to hunt or to escape predators, their bodies armored against desiccation. Some scientists debate their motives. Were they accidental wanderers or deliberate colonists? The fossil record remains fragmented, but the footprints they left behind, preserved in ancient sediments, speak of exploration, of life stepping onto a world untouched by biology. It is here we encounter one of Earth's oddest evolutionary experiments: creatures adapting to land without the infrastructure of terrestrial life. Without lungs, they relied on skin or primitive spiracles to absorb oxygen. Without roots, early plants depended on constant moisture, thriving only near the lapping edges of the sea. It was a delicate foothold, easily broken by drought or shifting tides, but it was the first. Above these brave colonists, the sky was alien, free from birds, untouched by insects, utterly silent except for the wind. The continents, vast and raw, offered promise and peril in equal measure. The sun, unfiltered by dense plant canopies or ozone-rich skies, beat down with fierce ultraviolet radiation. Only in the wettest, most sheltered places could these pioneers survive. Yet the rewards were immense. On land, there were no predators, no competition, only endless space and abundant sunlight. For those that could master these harsh conditions, a new world awaited. In the coastal shallows, the aquatic realm continued to evolve. Jawed fish emerged, their primitive cartilaginous structures giving rise to the first true vertebrate predators. Platyderms, armored fish encased in heavy bony plates, patrolled rivers and lagoons, their toothless mouths adapted for crushing and grinding. These fish, though tied to water, represented the next step in vertebrate conquest, setting the stage for limbs and lungs to follow. In the lush tidal pools, bivalves buried themselves beneath the sand, while early coral structures returned to the rebuilding reefs, creating complex underwater habitats. Crinoids, distant cousins of sea stars, anchored to the seafloor, waving feathery arms in the nutrient-rich currents. Yet despite the richness of life underwater, the true story of this age unfolded on the expanding boundary between sea and land. A pivotal evolutionary innovation whispered through these early land plants. The first traces of vascular tissue. Within the fragile stems of certain pioneering species, tiny channels began to transport water and nutrients more efficiently, freeing them from complete dependence on waterlogged environments. This breakthrough hinted at forests yet to come, at canopies that would one day sway beneath wind and rain, at towering life forms that would transform the planet's atmosphere. And with plants came soil, their slow decay mixed with eroded rock, forming the first primitive soils, changing the chemistry of the land, capturing carbon, and altering global climate patterns. Oxygen levels crept higher, while carbon dioxide was drawn down, cooling the planet, reshaping the dynamics of atmosphere and ocean alike. But the land was not conquered overnight. Progress was measured in millions of years. In small evolutionary steps, plants spread slowly along riverbanks and deltas. Arthropods crept cautiously, never straying far from moisture. The balance was fragile, the gains easily erased by droughts or climatic shifts. Indeed, the Earth was not yet stable. Glaciations returned, cooling the planet once more, challenging life's hold on the land. Some lineages vanished, unable to withstand the pressure, but others, the hardiest, the most adaptable, endured, pushing ever further inland, creeping higher above the tide, venturing deeper into the desolate landscapes. And it was these survivors who would give rise to new empires. One speculative mystery lingers. How frequent were these early terrestrial excursions? Did entire, now lost lineages of land-dwelling arthropods flourish and vanish without a trace? Could there have been microbial mats or primitive soil organisms that remain invisible to the fossil record? Their presence hinted only by chemical signatures trapped in ancient rock. Paleontologists debate these tantalizing gaps, piecing together a puzzle built on fragmentary evidence and occasional miraculous fossil discoveries. What remains clear is this: the Silurian world was a time of first steps, of cautious conquest, of biological courage against overwhelming odds. We stand at the dawn of terrestrial life, witnessing the first brushstrokes of green upon grey continents, the first crawl of life beyond water's embrace, the first tentative breath drawn under open sky. In the chapters yet to come, these humble beginnings will bloom into towering forests, into lumbering beasts, into aerial masters of the sky. But none of that is possible without these earliest colonists, who carved a path where none had existed, who transformed silent rock into living earth. They walked before there were flowers. They crawled before there were forests. They survived before there were songs in the wind. And their quiet triumph echoes through every leaf that flutters today, through every creature that walks, runs, or flies. From these first steps, the age of land life was born. Time shifts. Continents draw closer, and the Earth transforms into a world utterly unlike any before. We have arrived in the Carboniferous period from 305 to 299 million years ago, a chapter of history that hums with green abundance and teems with creatures of monstrous proportions. The oceans still cradle life in their depths, but it is the land at last that bursts into biological grandeur, casting shadows beneath towering trees and filling the skies with winged giants. We drift across vast tropical swamps, stretching from horizon to horizon. The air is thick, humid, and heavy, dense with moisture and rich with oxygen. levels soaring to heights never again reached in Earth's history, over 30% compared to the 21% we breathe today. Each breath of this ancient atmosphere stokes the fires of metabolism, fueling creatures to grow to astonishing sizes. Beneath our feet, the earth is soft, formed from the decaying leaves of enormous trees. Lepidodendron, the giant club mosses, rise over 100 feet into the sky, their scale-like bark gleaming in shafts of sunlight that pierce through a high verdant canopy. Sigillaria, their close relatives, stand in rigid forests, trunks lined with diamond patterns, their crowns a burst of green. Alongside them, calamites, giant horsetails, sprout thick, segmented stalks that resemble bamboo but dwarf any modern plant in size and reach. This is the age when plants dominate the earth, forming the coal-rich forests that will, hundreds of millions of years later, power the fires of human civilization. But these forests are alive not just with greenery, they are home to titanic arthropods, creatures that have evolved to monstrous scales beneath this oxygen-rich sky. In the air, vast dragonfly-like insects buzz through the canopy. Meganeura, the largest among them, flutters with delicate veined wings, spanning more than 2 feet, its multifaceted eyes scanning the swamps for prey. It is a hunter, an aerial predator with jaws strong enough to crush smaller insects, and perhaps even tiny amphibians. Its wings shimmer in the humid light, beating slowly in the dense atmosphere, enabling flight far beyond the limits of modern insects. Across the forest floor, beneath layers of fallen fronds and amidst tangled roots, crawls the Arthropleura, the giant millipede relative, the segmented titan that can stretch more than 8 feet in length. Its countless legs ripple in coordinated waves as it drags its armored body over the soft ground. Harmless herbivores, Arthropleura feed on decaying plant matter, but their size alone ensures few would dare challenge them. Yet challenges do exist. In the still waters of swampy lakes and slow-moving rivers, labyrinthodonts, large semi-aquatic amphibians, lurk beneath the surface. Eogyrinus, with its eel-like body, sharp teeth and powerful tail, ambushes from murky depths, preying on fish, smaller amphibians, and perhaps the unwary young of other species. These creatures represent a pivotal step in vertebrate evolution, a transition from the aquatic dominance of fish toward the conquering of terrestrial habitats by 4-limbed beasts. Fossil trackways preserved in ancient stone tell us of these lumbering amphibians, their sprawling limbs pressing deep into the muddy banks, their trails winding between still ponds and shadowy lagoons. Their skulls, wide and flat, suggest ambush predators, lying in wait before launching sudden explosive strikes on unsuspecting prey. Meanwhile, reptiles make their first modest appearance. Small, lizard-like animals scurry through leaf litter and climb low-hanging branches. They are unassuming, overshadowed by larger amphibians and arthropods, but they carry within them an evolutionary advantage that will one day shift the balance of power. They lay shelled eggs, freeing them from the need to return to water to reproduce. The amniotic egg is an evolutionary masterpiece, self-contained, protected environment for embryos to develop away from aquatic predators, a ticket to true terrestrial life. While amphibians remain tethered to wet environments, these early reptiles begin to explore the drier reaches of the forest, their presence subtle but significant. And beneath the canopy the forest sings, not with birds, for they have yet to come, but with the clicking, buzzing, and droning of countless insects. The oldest known winged insects emerged during this time, among them Paleodictyoptera, bizarre creatures with long beaks and additional small wings on their thoraxes, gliding between towering trunks. It is a world alive with sound, motion, and towering life, a symphony of green interspersed with the mechanical rhythms of chitinous wings and sprawling limbs. Yet, for all its abundance, the Carboniferous period is a world balanced on a knife's edge. Massive coal swamps pull carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, sequestering it in vast deposits that millions of years later will be transformed into black stone by pressure and time. The relentless drop in CO2 cools the planet. Glaciations begin to form in the southern polar regions, signaling climatic instability. As the period draws to a close, Earth's grand tropical forests begin to fragment. Swamps dry up, coastlines shift, and oxygen levels fall from their record heights. The oversized arthropods, whose immense sizes were supported by the supercharged atmosphere, decline and vanish. Amphibians, once rulers of the waterlogged forests, struggle as habitats shrink and aridity spreads. The transition is underway, slow but inevitable. In the midst of this ecological upheaval, the reptiles endure. Their dry adapted physiology allows them to survive in habitats where amphibians falter. Evolution quietly favors those who can walk away from water, those who can traverse dry plains and survive under changing skies. Speculation lingers among paleontologists. Were there arthropods even larger than what we've discovered, hidden in fossil beds yet unearthed? Could the high oxygen levels have permitted aerial feats unimaginable today? With insects soaring beyond our modern expectations, some researchers suggest these forests may have harbored undiscovered giants, their fossils obscured by millions of years of burial and compression. Regardless of these lingering unknowns, the Carboniferous stands as one of the grandest chapters in Earth's biological history. A time of atmospheric extremes, of emerald cathedrals stretching skyward, of monstrous insects and gliding predators, of amphibians swelling in diversity, and of reptiles beginning their quiet conquest of the land. It is a world that reverberates in every flake of coal, in every fossilized wing, in every whisper of ancient air trapped within stone. The towering forests will fall, but from their roots a new dominion will rise. The age of swamps begins to fade, and the age of reptiles prepares to inherit the earth. As the Carboniferous period yields to time's steady march, the earth enters a new age. The swamps shrink back, the great forests wither, and life begins to adapt to a harsher, drier world. It is now the Permian period, stretching from 209 to 252 million years ago, and the grand tropical wetlands that once stretched from pole to pole give way to vast deserts and rocky plains. The continents have drawn close, merging into the colossal supercontinent of Pangaea, a single landmass encircling an ocean of immense depth and breadth. Above this shifting land, the skies change. Oxygen levels have fallen from their Carboniferous peaks, returning to more moderate levels. The atmosphere grows more arid, more challenging, and the ancient titans of the swamps, the giant arthropods and amphibians, find themselves cornered, their dominion crumbling under the weight of evolutionary change. Yet from the edges of extinction, a new dynasty rises, the synapsids, reptile-like creatures who stand ready to claim the mantle of dominant land dwellers. Among them strides one of the most iconic and formidable beasts of the age, Dimetrodon, beneath a pale Permian sky on rocky floodplains, and within winding river valleys, Dimetrodon reigns supreme. Its sprawling gait presses deep footprints into dusty soil. Its back arches beneath a vast sail-like structure, a delicate lattice of elongated vertebrae, stretched taut with skin. This towering sail captures sunlight, warming its cold-blooded body in the cool mornings, regulating temperature in the shifting climates of the Permian. At a glance, it appears reptilian. Its scale-covered hide, its long tail, its low-slung body, yet it is no true reptile. Dimetrodon belongs to the synapsids, an ancient lineage that will one day, millions of years later, give rise to mammals. In its massive skull, we see the telltale sign of our own evolutionary roots, a single temporal opening behind each eye, an adaptation for stronger, more efficient jaw muscles. And those jaws are terrifying. Dimetrodon grows up to 15 feet in length, its heavy frame rippling with muscle. Its skull is built for crushing, lined with a grim arsenal of teeth, some of them saber-like canines capable of puncturing thick hide and slicing through flesh. No predator of the age dares challenge Dimetrodon. It is the apex hunter of the Permian, prowling the floodplains for amphibians, smaller reptiles, and anything else that crosses its path. We watch it stalk the edges of ancient rivers, its powerful limbs pushing it through marshy undergrowth. It is patient, calculating, and deadly. With its sensitive eyesight and acute sense of smell, it detects prey before it is seen. When it strikes, it moves with surprising speed, jaws clamping down on victims that never see it coming. Yet Dimetrodon is not the only giant to roam these changing lands. Around it thrive a diverse array of synapsids and early reptiles, each filling their own evolutionary niche. Edaphosaurus, a relative of Dimetrodon, grazes in slow-moving herds. It too bears a sail upon its back, but its teeth are blunt, its jaws adapted not for tearing but for grinding plant matter. Edaphosaurus represents one of the first large herbivorous tetrapods, a peaceful grazer among a landscape of hunters. In the wetlands that still remain, Eriops, a massive amphibian, lurks in muddy pools. Though amphibians have begun their decline, creatures like Eriops endure, their thick bodies and strong jaws reminiscent of modern crocodiles. They ambush unwary travelers who wander too close to the water's edge. Above the ground, the skies are no longer the sole domain of insects. The first paleocosaurs, progenitors of more advanced synapsids, begin to diversify. Reptilian forms proliferate, and the competition for resources intensifies. Across Pangaea, the climates vary wildly. The interior of the supercontinent is dry and harsh, with vast deserts broken by temporary rivers and isolated oases. Near the coasts, humidity lingers, supporting patches of greenery and freshwater ecosystems. This diversity of habitats spurs rapid evolution, forcing life to adapt or perish. Dimetrodon's sail remains one of the great enigmas of paleontology. Was it purely thermoregulatory, a biological solar panel warming its cold blood, or did it serve another purpose, perhaps a display to attract mates, or a means of intimidating rivals? Fossilized remains cannot tell us for certain. Some propose that brightly colored skin stretched between the neural spines, transforming the predator into a walking banner, signaling dominance across the floodplains. What we do know is that Dimetrodon's design is effective. For millions of years, it dominates its world, the ultimate predator in a time before dinosaurs. Its success points to an evolutionary truth. In the battle for survival, versatility and innovation often outweigh brute strength. Dimetrodon's powerful bite, its efficient metabolism, and its specialized sail make it a creature finely tuned to the challenges of its age. Yet the world does not stand still. As the Permian unfolds, the climate grows harsher. Volcanic activity increases, spewing ash and greenhouse gases into the skies. The supercontinent's interior becomes increasingly inhospitable. Massive desert dunes migrate across the land, choking rivers and drying lakes. The once lush habitats that supported giant amphibians and flourishing synapsid herds begin to disappear. Dimetrodon and its kin retreat to shrinking refuges, their numbers dwindling as environments contract. In their place, new groups arise, more advanced synapsids, known as therapsids, who bear even closer resemblance to the mammals that will eventually inherit the Earth. Some therapsids evolve more upright postures, differentiated teeth and complex jaws, innovations that point toward future evolutionary triumphs. Meanwhile, reptiles diversify into parareptiles and early archosaurs, quietly laying the groundwork for future dynasties. The evolutionary stage is shifting, though the apex predators of the early Permian remain synapsids, like Dimetrodon. Speculative questions linger. Did Dimetrodon exhibit social behaviors? Did it hunt alone or in loosely structured packs? Were its young left to fend for themselves or protected within hidden nesting grounds? Fossils offer few answers, preserving only bones and the occasional trackway, leaving behavior to the imagination of science. What remains certain is this: for nearly 20 million years, Dimetrodon ruled its world, its sail casting long shadows across the fractured, drying lands of Pangaea. But the end draws near. In the final chapters of the Permian, ecosystems collapse beneath environmental upheaval. Volcanic winters darken the skies. Oxygen levels plunge in oceans and lakes. Aridity spreads. Slowly, inexorably, the reign of the great synapsid predators falters. A mass extinction, the greatest the Earth has ever known, looms just beyond the horizon. For now, we watch Dimetrodon bask beneath a blood-red Permian sun, its sail aglow, its jaws stained with the remnants of its latest kill. It remains master of a world in flux, a final fearsome titan before the planet shudders beneath its most devastating cataclysm. Far from the sun-scorched deserts of Pangaea, beneath the creaking forests and shifting riverbeds, a different world thrives, dark, cold, and immense. We descend below the surface of ancient Permian seas into the blue-green shadows where giants still lurk. Here, in a realm untouched by human imagination, strange shapes drift through murky depths. Among them glides one of the most enigmatic predators ever forged by evolution. a creature whose mystery would puzzle humankind for over a century. Helicoprion, the owner of the most bizarre smile the oceans have ever seen. The waters are thick with life. Shoals of primitive bony fish scatter in nervous waves, ancient ammonites drift with curling shells and rhythmic pulses, while trilobites cling to the rocky seabed, their numbers reduced but their lineage still surviving the relentless press of time. Yet all of them, whether scaled or shelled, share one collective fear, the coiling terror that slices through the deep. Helicoprion cuts through the shadows like a living blade, its slender body propelling it forward with muscular undulations. Its silhouette resembles a modern shark, but its lineage lies among the eugenodonts, a now extinct group of cartilaginous fish related to modern ratfish, distant from today's sleek predatory sharks. What sets Helicoprion apart, what grants it eternal infamy in paleontological lore, is the grotesque, fascinating spiral that unfurls from its lower jaw, a tooth whorl, a circular saw of jagged teeth coiled tightly like a fossilized ammonite, where a chin should be. For decades, this feature baffled scientists. Early fossil discoveries presented only this strange, whirling structure. Where was the rest of the body? What monstrous arrangement of jaws could house such an appendage? Early reconstructions bordered on the comical. Helicoprion imagined as a bizarre wheel-mouthed nightmare, with saw blades protruding from its snout or forehead. But through the diligent work of fossil analysis and modern imaging techniques, science has peeled back the centuries of misunderstanding. The tooth whorl sat within the lower jaw, curling backward into the throat, a continuously growing conveyor belt of serrated teeth. As Helicoprion aged, newer teeth grew at the base, pushing older ones outward in an ever-tightening spiral. Unlike modern sharks, whose discarded teeth litter the ocean floor, Helicoprion kept every tooth it ever grew, rotating them endlessly in its singular circular maw. With no upper teeth, its hunting strategy remains a point of scientific fascination. How did it use this evolutionary anomaly to dominate its marine habitat? Theories range from slicing through the soft bodies of squid-like prey to gripping and crushing armored fish, using the saw-like structure to pull victims into its gullet, while simultaneously shredding them. Modern CT scans of exceptionally preserved fossils suggest a powerful, scissor-like jaw action. As the jaws snapped shut, the spiral would rotate slightly backward, dragging prey deeper while sawing through flesh. With every bite, Helicoprion turned feeding into a mechanical execution, swift, efficient, and inescapably fatal. In size, Helicoprion rivaled modern great white sharks, stretching up to 25 feet in length. Its torpedo-like body enabled bursts of speed, while large, sensitive eyes helped it navigate the low-light depths where it hunted. Its nostrils, positioned forward, likely contributed to a strong sense of smell, completing the blueprint of a deep-sea apex predator. Despite its terrifying jaws, Helicoprion was not alone in these ancient seas. The Permian oceans teemed with life that mirrored in distorted reflections the ecosystems we know today. Primitive sharks patrolled open waters, schools of ray-finned fish darted through kelp-like seaweed, and shelled nautiloids propelled themselves with gentle jets of water, their soft bodies protected within spiraling homes. In shallower coastal regions, reefs built by sponges, bryozoans, and algae blossomed, though the grand coral edifices of the Mesozoic had yet to rise. Crinoid sea lilies anchored by stalks waved feathery arms in the currents, filtering plankton and detritus. Yet even in these reef havens, the shadow of Helicoprion loomed. Its distribution appears to have been global. Fossils of its distinctive tooth whorl have been discovered in Russia, Australia, North America, and China, suggesting that Helicoprion prowled a vast range of marine environments, from shallow continental shelves to deeper offshore waters. But mysteries remain. No complete body fossil has been uncovered. Everything we know of Helicoprion beyond its jaws comes from educated inference, comparisons to related species, and fragmented skeletal remains. Was its tail forked or paddle-shaped? Did it bear dorsal fins like a modern shark? Or was its silhouette more akin to a primitive chimera? Was it a solitary hunter, or did it, like some modern fish, gather in great schools, its circular jaws gleaming in the filtered light? What we do know is that Helicoprion thrived in a world growing increasingly unstable. Volcanic activity rumbled in the distance. Tectonic plates collided, folding mountain ranges and widening oceans, periodic anoxic events, times when vast regions of ocean turned lifeless, depleted of oxygen, began to stain the waters. Food chains grew fragile, reef systems suffered collapses, and extinction pressures mounted. And yet Helicoprion persisted for tens of millions of years, outlasting many of its contemporaries. Its evolutionary design, strange though it seems to us, was a masterpiece of specialization, a predator perfectly tailored to its niche, capable of surviving in both rich coastal shallows and darker offshore depths. But as the late Permian approached, Earth's stability cracked. Massive volcanic eruptions in the region we now call Siberia unleashed torrents of basalt, choking the air with greenhouse gases, warming the planet, acidifying the oceans, and igniting the chain reaction of the Permian-Triassic mass extinction, the greatest die-off in the history of life on Earth. Helicoprion, along with over 90% of marine species, would vanish into the silence of extinction. And yet, its spiraled jaws remain, embedded in stone, a haunting reminder of the deep evolutionary pathways life once explored. Its whirl, still sharp after hundreds of millions of years, speaks to a time when the oceans were ruled by creatures as strange as they were deadly. Every fossil spiral tells a story of ancient seas and forgotten ecosystems, of a predator perfectly evolved, of a world both alien and familiar. As we rise from these depths, leaving Helicoprion behind in the shadows of geological time, the seas tremble, the land fractures, and the age of ancient marine monsters prepares to give way to the rule of creatures who will walk, stalk, and thunder across the land. From the whirl of the ocean's saw-toothed assassins, we now move toward the teeth of land-dwelling titans, predators more terrifying still. The Permian world shifts again, and life is pressed into new forms by the tightening grip of aridity and heat. Oceans retreat, river valleys dwindle, and once lush forests wither into cracked, thirsty plains. Pangaea, the great supercontinent, sprawls across the globe, a vast expanse of rocky highlands, red deserts, and withered swamplands that bake beneath a relentless ancient sun. In this harsh crucible, evolution turns brutal, stripping life down to raw power and survival. It is here, amidst the dry winds and barren plains, that the Gorgonopsids rise, fierce saber-fanged predators, the apex hunters of the late Permian land. We walk among them now, feeling the oppressive heat of a world teetering on the edge of extinction, watching as these deadly creatures stalk across the hard-packed earth, their sinewy muscles flexing beneath scaled skin. The largest among them, Inostransvia, reigns supreme, over 12 feet long, with a low-slung, powerful body. It moves with terrifying efficiency. Its skull is narrow, elongated, and filled with serrated teeth, the most prominent of which are long saber-like canines that curve downward, capable of puncturing deep into flesh and muscle. With a single crushing bite, Inostransvia can deliver a death blow, severing arteries or breaking bone. It hunts without hesitation, without mercy. Beneath its formidable jaws, its robust limbs propel it forward in swift bursts of speed, far more agile than the sluggish, sprawling reptiles it hunts. These prey animals, early therapsids like Scytosaurus, lumber slowly through the wastelands, their bodies shielded in thick armor, their herbivorous jaws pulling at tough, dry vegetation. But even armor offers little safety against the crushing bite of a Gorgonopsid. And the Gorgonopsids are not limited to the colossal. Many species prowl these Permian badlands, from the moderately sized Lycaenops, wolf-like in appearance, to smaller, nimble forms capable of pursuing prey into rocky outcrops and scrubland shadows. Together, these predators fill every terrestrial niche, from sprinters of the open plains to ambush hunters of dense underbrush. The rise of the Gorgonopsids signals a dramatic shift in evolutionary design. They represent some of the most advanced non-mammalian synapsids, bridging the gap between primitive reptile-like forms and the more specialized therapsids that will later give rise to mammals. Their skulls reveal specialized jaw mechanics, allowing for powerful bites and quick killing strikes. Their limb posture, while not fully upright, hints at more efficient locomotion, giving them agility far beyond their early Permian predecessors. Paleontologists studying their fossils find themselves tracing the roots of modern predation, complex hunting behaviors, refined sensory systems, and adaptive physiology that anticipates mammalian evolution. Gorgonopsids bear the hallmarks of intelligence and tactical survival in a world growing increasingly unforgiving. Yet, these wastelands are not empty. Massive herbivores still roam, slow and ponderous, yet massive in their own right. Scotosaurus, thick-skinned and barrel-bodied, trudges across the plains, its heavy tail dragging behind, its broad feet pressing deep into the dust. Smaller herbivores like Diprotodon scurry in burrows, forming tight-knit communities to weather the heat and avoid the fangs of predators. In the drying riverbeds, parasaurs, grotesque and rotund, gather to drink from dwindling waterholes, their bony nodules and heavy armor protecting them from all but the most determined attackers. And lurking within the shadows of these parched landscapes are the therapsids, distant cousins of the gorgonopsids, evolving rapidly in the background. Among them are strange, nimble omnivores, experimenting with new tooth patterns, more efficient thermal regulation, and diversified diets. These creatures hint at what is to come after the Permian liangers that will survive the coming cataclysm and eventually evolve into true mammals. In the absence of flowing rivers and dense forests, the very physiology of life bends to meet the new demands. Gorgonopsids, like their prey, are adapted to drought. Their metabolism slows during periods of scarcity. Their broad skulls house strong olfactory bulbs, sharpening their sense of smell to track prey across barren wastes. Fossilized bones reveal growth rings, suggesting seasonal patterns, periods of rapid growth when prey is plentiful, punctuated by times of starvation when only the strongest endure. And yet, even amidst their dominance, cracks appear in the foundation of their reign. The climate of the late Permian grows more extreme with each passing age. Superheated summers bake the interior of Pangaea, while erratic monsoons batter the coastal regions. Volcanism intensifies, spewing sulfur and ash into the skies, dimming sunlight and disrupting global temperatures. Carbon dioxide rises, oxygen levels fall, and the stability of the ecosystems begins to falter. Life clings to survival, but balance is failing. Evidence points to increasingly frequent anoxic events in the oceans, vast dead zones where oxygen vanishes and marine life suffocates. On land, droughts spread, flora declines, and with it, the herbivorous base of the food chain begins to collapse. For the gorgonopsids, the top of the food chain becomes a precarious perch. The fall of prey species spells doom for even the most capable predator. Fossil layers show declines in diversity, followed by a disappearance of gorgonopsid fossils altogether, as the Permian extinction event ramps toward its catastrophic climax. Paleontological debates continue. Why did the gorgonopsids perish while some therapsids endured? Was it the collapse of prey populations, the sudden climatic upheavals, or perhaps differences in metabolic resilience that spelled the end of these saber-fanged hunters? The fossil record offers tantalizing clues, but the full story remains buried beneath the layers of volcanic rock and ancient sediment. Yet for millions of years, gorgonopsids ruled unchallenged. They perfected the art of terrestrial predation in a world without flowers, without birdsong, beneath skies that never heard the beat of feathered wings. They thrived in a time when mammals were little more than distant evolutionary whispers, and when dinosaurs were still unimaginable. The world they knew, brutal and raw, now teeters on the precipice of annihilation. Volcanoes seethe, continents fracture, oceans die, and the Great Dying approaches, the most devastating extinction event the Earth will ever experience. But here, in this moment before the fall, we see the zenith of synapsid power, a lineage that carved its way through evolutionary history with muscle, fang, and raw tenacity. The sun sets on the age of the gorgonopsids, their sabered jaws closing forever in the Permian twilight. Soon, nothing will remain but bones entombed in ancient stone, and the world will fall silent. The world trembles. Mountains split, oceans boil, skies darken, and life majestic, monstrous and meek faces, a trial beyond comprehension. The clock turns to the end of the Permian period, 25 million years ago, and the Earth descends into the grip of its most profound catastrophe. This is the moment the planet nearly died, a mass extinction so severe it earns a singular title, the Great Dying. From our vantage above the tortured world, we watch Pangaea fracture under its own weight. The Siberian Traps, an unfathomable volcanic province, erupt in an apocalypse of molten rock and toxic gas. For nearly 1 million years, Relentless rivers of lava flood across the land, covering millions of square kilometers. Fountains of ash and poison rise into the stratosphere, choking sunlight, turning day to dusk, and plunging temperatures across continents. But it is not merely fire that smothers life. It is what follows. The atmosphere grows heavy with carbon dioxide, trapping heat beneath the sky, shifting from volcanic winters to a suffocating greenhouse inferno, oceans. Once vibrant with shoals of ammonites, fish, and ancient predators, lose their oxygen. Warm, stagnant waters spread like a planetary plague, becoming vast anoxic dead zones where nothing can breathe, nothing can thrive. Coral reefs, the nurseries of marine life, disintegrate. Entire clades vanish. Trilobites, survivors of 3 mass extinctions, succumb and disappear forever, their intricate exoskeletons lost to the eons. Shelled brachiopods, crinoids, ancient ammonoids, all collapse under the weight of chemical changes in the sea. The numbers stagger the imagination. Nearly 96% of marine species gone, 70% of terrestrial vertebrates erased. Entire ecosystems, from ocean floors to tree canopies, blink out of existence within mere moments of geological time. Above the poisoned seas, the land fares no better. The vast forests of the Carboniferous and early Permian have already withered under drying climates. Now acid rain falls from blackened clouds, stripping soil, leaching nutrients, and killing off the hardy flora that survived the earlier environmental shifts. Rivers turn acidic, lakes stagnate, and desertification sweeps across the heart of Pangaea. The massive herbivores, plesiosaurs like Scutosaurus, the broad-bodied anapsids, vanish. The sleek, saber-fanged gorgonopsids fall silent, their footprints ending abruptly in the fossil record. Burrowing dicynodonts, amphibians, and early archosaurs gasp in shrinking refuges, their numbers dwindling as habitable environments collapse. The cause of this planetary trauma lies not in a singular event, but in a perfect storm of cataclysms. The Siberian traps release catastrophic amounts of greenhouse gases, ocean circulation stalls, leading to widespread oceanic anoxia. Methane hydrates locked beneath seafloors thaw, bubbling up vast plumes of methane, a greenhouse gas far more potent than carbon dioxide, pushing temperatures even higher. Acid rain strips land. Ultraviolet radiation increases as atmospheric chemistry falters, and food chains, both marine and terrestrial, disintegrate from bottom to top. One by one, species falter. Predator and prey alike fall. The forests turn to ghostly wastelands. The coral gardens become barren deserts. By the end, 9 out of every 10 life forms that once called this planet home have vanished. And for a moment, Earth stands on the brink of sterility. Science wrestles with the scale of devastation. Sediment layers from this age bear the black signatures of dead oceans, the absence of bioturbation, no worms churning the mud, no burrowers aerating the soil. Fossils show signs of stress, stunted growth rings, malformations, chemical scars from sulfur-rich waters. Even microbial life shows evidence of catastrophic turnover, with vast mats of opportunistic bacteria proliferating in place of collapsed ecosystems. What makes the Great Dying all the more chilling is its duration. This was no sudden asteroid strike, no brief cataclysm, but a prolonged environmental nightmare. Recovery took millions of years, entire geological epochs before life cautiously expanded again, before ecosystems began to stabilize, before complexity returned. And yet, amidst this bleakness, life did not extinguish. A fragile thread of survival endured, tiny, unassuming synapsids scraped by in hidden refuges. Ancient lungfish weathered anoxic swamps. Hardy conifers clung to rocky outcrops. The oceans, though suffocated, harbored survivors. Small bivalves, tenacious gastropods, certain lineages of fish that adapted to poisonous, oxygen-starved waters. This biological bottleneck reshaped evolution. The great dynasties of the Paleozoic fell, and from the ashes, new lineages would rise. The archosaurs, early relatives of crocodiles, pterosaurs, and dinosaurs, found footholds in the silence left behind. The vapsids, though diminished, preserved the spark of mammalian ancestry. Plants evolved tougher, drought-resistant forms, ready to recolonize a battered landscape. Speculation endures. Could such an extinction happen again? What unseen forces beneath Earth's crust or distant cosmic events might trigger such devastation? Modern scientists trace warning signs in oceanic oxygen levels, in carbon cycles, in the fragile balance of atmospheric chemistry. The Great Dying serves as both historical record and cautionary tale, a testament to the planet's capacity for both destruction and regeneration. For in the silent aftermath of Earth's darkest hour, a strange resilience hums beneath scorched ground and empty seas. Slowly, the sky clears. Volcanism wanes. The atmosphere settles. Ocean currents gingerly resume their circulation. Plants take root in cracked soil. Surviving animals adapt, radiate, and evolve. The world does not remain silent forever. Life begins again, smaller, simpler at first, but relentless. Evolution coils its muscles awaiting the next epoch of expansion. In the distance, the dawn of a new age breaks across the recovering planet, an age where strange, upright reptiles will rise from the dust, where predators will reclaim dominance, where ancient lineages will reforge the shattered chains of life. The Paleozoic closes in silence, but the Mesozoic looms ahead, carrying within it new giants, new hunters, and new evolutionary marvels. Earth, scarred but unbroken, prepares for resurrection. From the choking ash and poisoned seas of the Great Dying, the Earth takes its first breath of recovery. Life, though humbled and scarred, proves its resilience. Among the broken bones and withered forests, a humble, unassuming creature steps forward to reclaim the land, a survivor unlike any other. This is the age of Lystrosaurus, the quiet conqueror of a wounded world. The Permian's collapse has passed, and the planet enters the early Triassic period, roughly 252 million years ago. Vast deserts cover much of Pangaea, and the once verdant ecosystems have vanished, replaced by barren landscapes, dotted with stunted vegetation and silty riverbeds. The skies still waver with dust. The air remains dry, and biodiversity is but a shadow of its former self. Yet, in this bleak aftermath, Lystrosaurus thrives. We see them now, lumbering across the desolate plains, stocky, barrel-bodied herbivores, their thick limbs trudging through soft, unstable earth. With a body barely 2 meters long, a squat frame, and a blunt, tusked snout, they're not majestic or monstrous like the predators of old, but their survival is testament to evolutionary genius. Lystrosaurus belongs to the therapsids, those mammal-like reptiles that had already weathered millions of years of competition and predation. It carries within its bones the architecture of the future: stronger jaw muscles, differentiated teeth, and sprawling limbs built for both strength and efficiency. While the Gorgonopsids and Periasaurs vanished, Lystrosaurus adapt it did, spectacularly. In the fossil record of the early Triassic, Lystrosaurus appears everywhere, from the parched plains of what is now Russia and China to the floodplains of South Africa and Antarctica. Their bones are abundant, scattered across nearly every known landmass of the time. In some regions, over 90% of vertebrate fossils belong to Lystrosaurus, a dominance unseen before or since. How do they do it? How do these simple tusked herbivores rise from the ashes of mass extinction to conquer the land almost unopposed? Science offers compelling insights. Lystrosaurus was built for survival. As a generalist herbivore, it consumed hardy, low-nutrient vegetation roots, stems, and primitive ferns that persisted when lush forests had disappeared. Its robust ribcage housed a capacious lung system, possibly aided by a diaphragm-like muscle, allowing it to endure low-oxygen environments where others suffocated. Fossilized bone structures reveal growth rings that suggest torpor or hibernation, an ability to slow metabolism during times of extreme drought or scarcity. It was not swift, but it was persistent, not a predator but a survivor. Lystrosaurus represents the triumph of resilience over power, of adaptability over specialization. We watch them gather near muddy waterholes, their beaked mouths scraping tough roots from the earth, their tusks digging through soil in search of hidden sustenance. Their squat, powerful bodies are well suited for burrowing, and some paleontologists suggest that Lystrosaurus could shelter underground during the worst climatic extremes, much like modern desert-dwelling animals. The Triassic landscape is unforgiving. Rivers are seasonal, turning to dust during long dry spells. Vegetation clings to life along the banks of shrinking streams. Predators are few, small, and struggling, and into this biological vacuum, the Strosaurus marches undeterred, expanding into every habitable corner of the supercontinent. It is during this time that life begins its slow, patient recovery. New plant species emerge, including the earliest conifers and seed ferns, patching the scarred land with patches of green. Small amphibians return to the shallows, and early archosaurs, reptilian ancestors of crocodiles, pterosaurs, and dinosaurs stalk the edges of Lystrosaurus herds. Yet for millions of years, Lystrosaurus dominates, undisturbed, unchallenged, unmatched. Speculative mysteries swirl around their reign. Some scientists question if their success was bolstered by rapid reproduction, similar to modern rodents, quick growth rates, early maturity, frequent breeding cycles. Others ponder the unique adaptations within their circulatory or respiratory systems that allowed them to thrive where others could not. Lystrosaurus leaves behind no direct descendants, but its story illustrates the evolutionary rule that adaptability, not supremacy, ensures survival in times of crisis. And what of behavior? Were these tusked wanderers solitary or social? Fossil beds suggest both possibilities. Clusters of individuals hint at group living, perhaps drawn together by scarce resources, or perhaps part of a herd-based survival strategy. Some trackways reveal coordinated movement, pathways etched into ancient floodplains by generations of trudging herbivores. As we drift over the recovering landscapes, we witness the first glimmers of ecological rebirth. The earth, scorched and battered, begins to heal. Shallow rivers carve new channels through silty deltas, bringing life to barren plains. Early insects return, buzzing around primitive conifers, small predators like Proterosuchus. An early archosaur with crocodile-like jaws test the edges of Lystrosaurus's territory, but find little success against these robust, vigilant herbivores. Slowly, diversity returns. The dominance of Lystrosaurus begins to ebb as ecosystems diversify and more specialized species re-emerge. New lines of archosaurs gain a foothold, amphibians multiply, fish recolonize rivers, and early marine reptiles return to warm coastal seas. But for a brief, remarkable window in time, Lystrosaurus ruled the world, not through predation, speed, or cunning, but through simplicity, flexibility, and tenacious endurance. It stands as a monument to life's quiet strength, a symbol of survival through Earth's most harrowing apocalypse. While titanic predators fell and grand forests crumbled, this humble barrel-bodied forager endured, spread, and flourished. In the grand narrative of life, Lystrosaurus whispers an enduring truth, that in times of great trial, it is not always the strongest who prevail, but the most adaptable, the most resilient, the most unrelenting. And as the Triassic world stabilizes, as life gains momentum and evolutionary innovation accelerates, the reign of Lystrosaurus will fade into history. New giants stir in the evolutionary shadows. New predators sharpen their teeth. And the age of dinosaurs prepares to rise from the cradle Lystrosaurus helped preserve. The world breathes again. The dust settles, the skies lighten, and life takes cautious steps into a new chapter. It is the middle to late Triassic period, roughly 240 to 230 million years ago, and Earth has begun to heal from the deepest wound in its history. Out of the barren wastelands, ecosystems awaken, rivers flow clean again, and green tapestries reclaim the ancient scars of extinction. Life returns not as it was before, but in fresh, bold forms that will shape the ages to come. We drift across a rejuvenated Pangaea, its vast interior still arid and harsh, but its coasts alive with promise. Forests of towering conifers and seed ferns sway beneath a brightening sun, while cycads and ginkgo-like plants cluster in fertile valleys. Rivers meander across lowlands, feeding shallow lakes where amphibians croak in the shade. Insects buzz through the undergrowth, beetles, true bugs, dragonflies, descendants of ancient lineages, now reclaiming their dominion. And from the thickets and plains emerge the archosaurs, the ruling reptiles of this newly vibrant world. We see them sleek, nimble, and alert. Among them, Prehistotic, a crocodile-faced predator, strides confidently on muscular, pillar-like legs, nearly 6 meters long. It is one of the top land predators of its time. its heavy jaws lined with serrated teeth capable of tearing through the flesh of unwary herbivores. Archosaurs diversify rapidly, filling every niche. Some take to the skies as early pterosaurs, their elongated fingers, stretching membranous wings, gliding and eventually flapping through the air, exploring an aerial realm no vertebrate had mastered before. Others remain aquatic, evolving into armored semi-aquatic hunters like phytosaurs, whose crocodile-like forms haunt riverbanks, their nostrils curiously placed near their eyes. But most significant of all, hidden within the bustling archosaur ranks, are small, nimble, bipedal creatures, the first true dinosaurs. At first they are unassuming. Creatures like Eoraptor dart through underbrush, quick and agile, no larger than a modern dog. Their hollow bones grant speed, their sharp teeth bite through insects, small reptiles, and the occasional fish. They are opportunistic, adaptable, and restless. These are not yet the thunderous giants of later ages, but within their bones lies a promise, the blueprint of future titans. From Eoraptor's lineage come Herrerasaurus, larger, more robust predators, capable of toppling prey and competing with older archosaurs. Some of these early dinosaurs remain carnivorous, others shift toward herbivory, leading to the first sauropodomorphs, distant ancestors of the colossal sauropods. Evolution quickens its pace. The first dinosaurs begin to dominate in specialized niches, their posture more upright, their movement more efficient, their metabolism hinting at elevated activity levels, perhaps even primitive endothermy or warm-bloodedness, still debated among scientists today. And yet, in this dawn before dinosaurs' reign, Earth remains a competitive world. The archosaurs, especially the pseudosaurians, crocodile-line reptiles, hold significant power. While small dinosaurs creep through forests and stalk plains, predators like Postosaurus and herbivorous atosaurs, armored like walking tanks, still rule much of the land. In the oceans, nothosaurs and placodonts, marine reptiles with paddle-like limbs and crushing jaws, dominate coastal waters. Ichthyosaurs, streamlined and swift, begin their own rise toward aquatic supremacy. In the skies, Dimorphodon and other primitive pterosaurs make tentative flights, scouting the vast expanses from above. Life has not only rebounded, it has reinvented itself. Biodiversity flourishes again, but the scars of the Great Dying linger beneath the surface. Ecosystems remain simpler than those of the lush carboniferous swamps, and extinction events still occasionally ripple through food chains, but the world is vibrant, moving forward, and the first dinosaurs quietly extend their range, increasing in number, diversity, and adaptability. Science debates how and why these early dinosaurs succeeded. Some theories point to their lightweight skeletons, efficient lung structures akin to modern birds, and high locomotor endurance. Others suggest opportunism. These early forms exploited ecological vacuums left by the Permian extinction's aftermath. Some paleontologists wonder if fast reproductive cycles or elevated metabolic rates granted them a hidden edge. And looming on the distant timeline is another extinction, the End-Triassic event, which will further eliminate competitors, opening the floodgates for dinosaurian dominance. But for now, in this moment of evolutionary transition, Earth is balanced at the brink of transformation. We walk through these Triassic landscapes, hearing the rustle of primitive dinosaurs in the brush, the calls of distant pterosaurs overhead, the bellowing grunts of early archosaurs staking claim to swampy territory. This is not yet the age of dinosaurs, but it is the birth of it. The stage is set, the players assembled, and in the coming millions of years, evolution will crown a new ruling dynasty. The world has survived the worst extinction in its history. From that devastation has emerged a fresher, stronger, more complex tapestry of life. Leaner, faster, stranger. In the next heartbeat of geologic time, dinosaurs will tower over jungles, marine reptiles will reclaim the oceans, and the skies will darken with the wings of dragons. But here, at this threshold, we pay homage to the ones who came before, the microbial architects, the armored leviathans, the giant millipedes, the sail-backed predators, the saw-toothed hunters, the saber-fanged lords of the Permian, and the unshakable survivors like Lystrosaurus. From their struggles, Earth rebounded. From their legacy, life surged anew. From their silence, the future roared to life. And now, the march of evolution continues, endlessly, relentlessly, gloriously.